There are 23 S&P 500 stocks reporting earnings on Tuesday, January 27th, and we're going to look at 8 of them. These are some of the larger cap, more popular traded names, plus a little sprinkling of the defense sector sprinkled in. So I am going to look at price action, market timing, and momentum because I'm human and that's what I do. So let's start with ticker UNH, United Healthcare. So you can see that this stock is a higher price stock, about $350 a share at the moment, and it has been recovering since November 19th. It looks like it wants to get back to the October 28th range, but it's not quite able to push above it. And this is a very common occurrence on key levels like this. So I would expect that while above the January 20th low, there's room for further upside, but probably limited to the 370 area. All right, UPS. Now, this has been in an upward climb, and you can see when you kind of bring in more history that it's after a longer term downtrend. So we have climbed back above the July 2025 high, which is great, but there's a momentum that's sort of kind of paused and trying to work itself out here. So while above the January 2nd low, I think there would be room for a pullback opportunity to buy. So I wouldn't suggest buying now, but a pullback, and that might give you scope for a return to the March 2025 high. All right, NEE is on its way higher, but it's within the context of a lot of congestion back in its history. So what I want to see is if it can really get above a daily closing break above this October 28th high. And if so, then there's a longer term pathway, probably towards $100 a share, that would unfold in the next few months. Meanwhile, we have a great little straight uptrend right here, right? Higher bar lows, as I call them. But because there's not been a pause, there's no opportunity to go along here. So looking for clearance above the October high while we stay above the January 6th low. All right, BA, Boeing. This has ascended nicely to $250 a share with the RSI pushing into the bull resistance power zone. Love seeing that in a strong market. Let's get some perspective of history. All right, well, it looks like we might be at new highs. The only way to know for sure is turn on a weekly chart. Aha! So remember, always either scroll back and look at more data on your time frames to see where you are, or use a higher time frame, and that lets you know if you're at new highs in these current market conditions or if you're just kind of reclaiming ground that was previously lost. So that tells me that the December 2023 high is the next area of resistance. So $260 a share is probably the next short-term upside target, and that's while Boeing stays above the January 8th low. RTX. Again, you need perspective, so sometimes you need to step out. And yeah, this one is at actual all-time new highs. So let's take a look at the most recent action. It is pulling back, which is great if you're looking for an area to buy in a pullback. And I would do that while it stays above the January 9th low. If it's able to resume while above that January 9th low, it looks like about $215 a share would be the next upside target. Okay, UNP, this is a great example of not having enough data on the daily chart to know where we are in the history. So either scrunch the data up, right? Get as much on there as you can and shrink your axes down, or just go to a higher time frame, which is a little bit easier. And that tells you, whoa, this thing's been consolidating for years. So this is a stock that probably doesn't have a big move ahead of it, but in the very short term, it's down off of the December 16th high. So if it continues lower, then the next downside target would be a return to the October 29th range. Ticker NOC, Northrop Grumman, is always a fun one to say, and it has been pushing higher, exceeded its October high. Let's get some long-term perspective here. Yeah, this is at new highs, like actual new highs. That's how you know when you look at the weekly chart, or better yet, the monthly. So if this is something you're using to having your position as a buy and hold, and you're just looking to maybe reaccumulate shares on pullbacks, then right now I would wait to reaccumulate because the RSI power zones is pausing, and I would rather see a pullback, honestly, probably to the January 7th range, like $600 a share. I'm not saying we'll get that with the earnings release or anytime soon. It's just that if I was wanting to act on this to build positions, that's where I would look. Okay, last but not least in my list is TXN. So this is Texas Instruments, and you can see here that it has been long-term consolidating, right? November 2024 high, April 2025 low, and then again, July 2025 high and November 2025 low. So based on that, We are still in the move higher off the most recent low, but definitely have some potential resistance up ahead. I think that we could see a move back toward this range from August 22nd, but it would definitely be an area where I might expect a pause. And that could also be an opportunity for a short-term move lower if the consolidation environment is persisting. But right now, bulls are in charge and looking for upside towards 205.50. So that's my take on just some of the stocks reporting earnings tomorrow. Like I said, there are 23. These are 8 of a large cap mix, defense, and more. So if you got some ideas about trades you can make, or you found value in my revisiting of what amount of data to study so that you always know where you are in the trend, go ahead and hit that like button, and I'll catch you in the next video.